Hello and welcome to my channel, Descended Masters. I'm Russell. So today I want to talk about loving what is versus changing what is. So this is one of the primal splits in New Age thought and spirituality between those who argue that one should accept what is and be one with the now, versus the ones who want to change circumstances and create. So on the one hand, if you like, you have something like the power of now, Eckhart Tolle, and you have perhaps Byron Katie's Loving What Is, even has a book of that title, Loving What Is. And then on the other side, you have the law of attraction, Abraham, Wayne Dyer, all those who emphasize shifting frequency to achieve something, to create. And these are traditionally two lines that run separately in spirituality. And you end up with people following one or the other. Now, my way has always been to try and see how things connect. So I've tried various ways of following the one, and then I found that I'm drawn again to the other, and hip-hopping between the two, which has been kind of sometimes confusing. And what has been confusing is that when I ask teachers of the one path about the other one, they tend to dismiss it and say, don't worry about that. If you ask people into the oneness teachings and loving what is and being in the now, they don't have too much to say about creating your reality and manifesting your reality. And if you ask them, the manifestors, about the others, usually they don't know that they exist at all, really. They have even less to say. For me, this is not, this putting into boxes is primarily unsatisfying. So I would like to share some things with you about how to bring the two together. Because if these are laws, if these are kind of cosmic laws and spiritual paths, surely they cannot be different completely. They must connect at some point. I'll just run through some of the aspects of each one of them. Loving what is, being in the now. We love that. We read the book being the power of now, and we just feel into the beautiful peace that seems to emanate from teachers of this nature, writers of this nature, and then we want some of that for ourselves. And these writers and teachers very much de-emphasize the creation, acting in the world, and manifesting. And there is, the sense comes in that there's an element of ego, of judgment of, if you're creating and manifesting your reality, ego can come in. And in a sense they're right. So I want to pick that apart a little bit. When ego comes in and when not. So I followed instinctively the power of now, the oneness teachings, because that's essentially non-dual, essentially non-duality, and that has always been an answer for me of a kind to a certain problem I've had, or certain questioning that I've had, the non-dual perspective. So that from the non-dual is there's no real me or you or creation. It is almost like a happening. The separation between me and others blurs. Separation between me and the creation blurs. And within this is a profound sense of non-doership, that I'm not doing anything. If you jump across to that other stream of manifesting, there's a strong sense of doership, of the doer. So here's another place where this battle plays out. So the non-dual folks will say there's no doer, there's no one here acting. And if you follow that line, you will feel into that is an element of truth. At least I do. It answers certain questions. But then I'm left with, but how do I live in this world where doership seems to be required? And if I withdraw purely into non-dual perspective and I focus on sort of almost like the dissolution of the union of self with everything, and my sense of ego diminishes so much, there is a point where almost I'm not doing anything, and what I've found is that not much happens, and so one can find oneself in uncomfortable positions, for instance, of financial lack, say. So this is a problem that affects spiritually minded people, very purely spiritual mind, those who are attracted to the oneness path. And in the old days, it was quite fine for us to retire to the monasteries and practice there. And in a monastery, you can meditate the whole day. There's not much creation that you have to do, because that is all handled by the collective of the monastery and by the society in which you are. So in the old days, the church, people would pay to the tithe to the church that would support the monastery, and the monasteries would do some kind of work to augment their finances. But generally, you were taken care of. And in those days of the monasteries were the repositories of knowledge in darker ages. So there was very much a use for them. But now we are coming out into the world. So for me, what's important is how do we blend those two paths, and how do we honor the desire for oneness, and then desire also to act and to be in the world and to create. And then also the desire is not to create from ego. How do we create as a separate individual almost, but going beyond ego? So power of now, and doing nothing, and loving what is, and accepting what is, and almost having no boundaries. So put them on, maybe on the one side, left-hand column. We'll go through some characteristics of them. Power of now, loving what is, left-hand column. On the right-hand column, you've got change what is, change your circumstances. Become more. And we can call that the empowerment, self-empowerment. And we can call the other one self-realization. So you have essentially self-realization versus self-empowerment. How do we bring the two together? Are they doomed to forever be separate? In the path of self-realization, you have essentially an inquiry into self. You spend your time questioning the I am, feeling into I am, and then what is behind I am is the I, just self, which is the non-manifest form of I am. I am is in creation. I is the pure subjective witness, if you like. And so falling back into that brings great peace. And if from there is often not a huge desire for action, because all needs are met. So think of that in the one column, inquiry into self. The other one is empowering the self. So you have a law of attraction, those teachings, to do with empowering the self. So many people on the spiritual path, I mean, myself included, have thought, well, if I'm empowering the self, am I in danger of ego? So a quick answer is yes, qualified yes. In the sense of a separate self. And it can lead to, I just want to create more and more things to medicate a lack. But it does not necessarily have to be that way. Perhaps there's a way of combining these two. On the side of self-empowerment, we are concerned with boundaries, like me and others. Like what do I want to create? What wants to come through me to be created? So there's a sense of me. There's a sense of me as the doer, me as the free will, as the agent of free will. Where you have free will, there's a being, a separate kind of discrete being who's acting on the world. So in a sense, you want to maintain that sense of separation, some degree of separation. If you're following self-empowerment, there is some degree of separation. Now, this can lead to huge ego and then so-called negative path. But perhaps there's a way of it not being so, because also creation wants to come forth through the vessel of the self. It wants to. This is why we have a world, not because we're punished to be here, but because something in nature, something in the divine mind wants to create and explore this world. So it creates these vessels called bodies, and it creates a kind of illusionary thing called a being, and it gives it a sense of free will, which is ultimately is also illusory, because who is the ultimate? There's only one. If there's only one will. But for now, the confusing thing is, at this level, 3D world, for even fourth density and fifth maybe, you want to play with creation, and that requires some sense of separation, some sense of a boundary. So if you're in the camp of loving what is and being at one with the universe, you will see that as ego trying to create your world. But if you only do that, your world will end up being poor, because you're not creating, and creation also wants to happen. Creation, in a way, loves separation. It loves the boundary. Our problem is perhaps that the boundaries have become too rigid. So it is far too easy, when following law of attraction, to create purely from lack, and that really becomes the issue. Am I creating from lack or from fullness? But even then we can remove judgment, because even if you're creating from lack, at some stage when you created and you have everything materially, still there will be the wanting, still there will be the emptiness. And then people usually ask, well, what's beyond here? There can be a point of like a dark night of the soul. I have everything, but yet I have nothing. I have not what I truly seek for. So in that moment, the answer really is within the other path of the oneness and loving what is. Because in there you find the fullness of I am, and I am contains everything. So we have boundaries and no boundaries. Self-realization seeks no boundaries, beyond boundaries. Self-empowerment requires some form of boundary. Self-realization seeks freedom from circumstances. You're finding the joy beyond circumstances. You're so exhausted with trying to change circumstances that you want to have nothing to do with that, and you let it go. You want to dissolve and be at peace with all circumstances. And in fact, the saintly people of the world, those who recognize as true saints, have usually had sometimes hard lives, and yet they found joy. They found what they call the love of God. It could just be joy and peace within the very circumstances. We might know very ordinary people who live in straitened circumstances but have found a peace. And this is they are the ones who have found, through loving what is, that if you allow what is without conflict, without trying to get rid of it, there's a certain peace that happens. Peace arises from that, from the letting go of struggle. On the other hand, the self-empowerment group, they say, if you just accept what is, you're just going to stay with what is. Now, in a way that is true. But if you really love what is, it means simply ending the war with what is. It doesn't mean you have to stay locked in and nothing happening. So I'm jumping backwards and forwards a bit, but we are almost like I want to mix things up a little bit. Loving what is, if unwisely handled, can lead to passivity. A little bit like some misunderstood Buddhist teachings. It's just karma, it's just, I don't have to worry, I don't have to do anything. So you become quite passive. But truly, with the loving what is path of going beyond circumstances, first step is really becoming at peace with circumstance. So if something's happening that you can't change, if you, like pain for instance, or circumstances, if you just allow it and you give yourself permission to fully experience and feel that, what can come forth is a peace. Because now I've ended the war with myself. I don't have to get rid of this pain or this heart sickness or heart sore. The pain is okay. And in allowing the pain in and truly feeling it, oneness steps forth, because now you've ended the duality of you and your pain. So pain is welcomed in, and the circumstances and all the judgments. So this is a path of great mercy. And then if you tune into yourself while you're doing that, you'll notice a peace appearing. A peace, it could be joy, it could be even power, could come forth. And now you see you enter the positive phase. If we jump across to the self-empowerment people, the law of attraction are very averse to feeling the pain. So they want to immediately jump into the feel good. Now there's some merit in there, because sometimes you can quickly jump into feel good and create. And yet, but also that can result in repression. So you're holding your stuff down and you're not feeling your pain, and your pain is a message, and it is not your enemy. So that is for me a drawback, and for many people feeling it's inauthentic. The law of attraction stuff can lead to inauthenticity, because you're not allowed to feel what is real. And if what is real now is that you're uncomfortable, distressed, grief, pain, it's almost like you're not allowed to feel that, because you can't let your vibration sink. I would argue that if we to jump to this side again, the simple medicine is, if you're in pain, allow it in, truly feel it. Truly feel it from oneness, that it is not separate from you, it is not an enemy. And when you do that, positive energy arises by itself. So now you can harness that positive energy for your law of attraction work. So it is quite a simple solution, really, to start to blend the two paths. The one of increasing frequency, the one of being happy with all frequency, knowing that you're beyond all frequency. The I, and the I am is beyond. The I specifically I. Pure subjective awareness beyond all frequency, unmanifest. It comes in as I am, as the first initial and tentative frequency feelings, usually of joy, peace, well-being, love, power. And then into more denser ones. And in law of attraction, you want to maintain a high frequency. Yet my message here is that sometimes to get to the high frequency, you need to go through the lower, because it is transformative. There are some moments when your low frequency is simply just habit, and you don't need to go through the process of it. You can simply recognize, I'm simply reacting now out of instinct, and it's no deep quality to it. It's simply like an instinctive rage, and then I can feel my way out of that. I don't need to dwell on that. But there's some that come from a deeper dimension of your life, calling you to be felt. It could be from trauma that simply wants to be felt and experienced. It was not safe when you were young to experience this trauma, so you packaged it up, hid it, and saved it till now. And now if you continue suppressing it because you want to keep your frequency always raised, it will continue asking for you, and it will subtly lower your frequency all the time. So what you want to do is go in and you feel it fully, breathe into it and feel it, allow it to be there, and listen to it. It wants to be listened to and heard. And even here you can get a friend who's good at listening, just to listen without comment. The witnessing of pain is a great medicine, because it can stop the story cycling and cycling and cycling. And when you've told the story, then you're out into the positive again. But now you're at one. You see, now you have true peace, because you're at one. And you have eliminated the duality of trying to inauthentically to get positive and to raise your frequency when you're not ready. You'll sense in a moment, am I ready to leave this low frequency and jump into positive? Yes. Sometimes, yes, it's easy. I can do it with it. I just breathe into it, imagine positive. Yes, I can do that. I can shift frequency easily. Other times, no matter how you shift, you're drawn back into the negative, so-called. That is your indication that this is something that comes from deeper realm that wants to be processed. Now, here's the thing. You're processing it from the oneness side, from your I am, and from your sense of circumstances do not matter. Yet I can still feel the pain. This is traces from the past that wants to be felt. So I invite it into that space. But so you're not resonating at that negativity, you're resonating at oneness, witnessing the pain. There's a very big difference between oneness, witnessing pain, to being fused with the pain and saying, I am this pain, there's something wrong with me. That's what you want to avoid, cycling through this. There's something wrong with me. So you want to do at this stage anything to get out of that. The simplest thing is just observe it. One step back. I'll notice there's pain here. And then allow yourself to feel it while also tuning into the witness who's aware of that. And then it can free. So in that sense, you're loving what is, and you're still remaining faithful to the law of attraction thing of regaining higher frequency. You're just going on a process first, and then you will regain much higher frequency after that. And then from that higher frequency you create, and then from that place of higher frequency you will have a sense of I am, and I have everything, I need nothing. Now when you create from there, you're creating from fullness, from oneness. Now oneness speaks through you. And perhaps the thing that you wanted before is not so longer important, and yet you might be drawn to something new. So then now you can use your frequency to look into the world and say, what wants to happen? Where do I want to spend my energy? What do I want to create or not create? So on the oneness field, you would find yourself at the same place. If you follow oneness into I'm everything, I'm all things. If you just remain that, you remain in the monastery. But if you now then look back at your world, from here, what do I want to create? What wants to come forth through me? What is my greatest excitement and joy? You're channeling that. Now you're going to meddle with circumstances, which is fine, because you're already beyond. Here's the catch. In both paths, go beyond circumstance first, and then turn back and look at what wants to change. And I say, no, this is what I say, what wants to change. Because that wanting is coming through from a higher field of being, from more of a oneness frequency. Now you're not creating from ego, but you are creating. Now you can gain your boundaries back. You see, boundaries are important. It is to enable creation, but they can be very loose. They can be they're like a trace, just enough to keep a sense of theme, because God, universe, wants to create through you, and it needs you with your talents and abilities and experience. An apparent you, yes, it's apparent, but so what? Play with the apparent you. So to be if the apparent you, the separate is here, play with it. And when you play with it for a while, you might find yourself, I'm tired of playing this, I want to go sink back into oneness, and I want to dissolve for a while and go into I, and even beyond to infinity, and not be a human being anymore for this moment of now. But then you will be drawn back, because now we are in physical bodies, so it will draw you back. So the trick almost is to do not deny when creation wants to come forth through you, as when separation reappears. But can you just keep it? Can you be light with it? And some days you might even be quite strong and feisty with it and say, right, here's will, I want to use will. Will is coming forth now. But here's the catch. Is it will of the ego that needs something from lack and needs to force other people? Or is it the divine will that is saying, no, this is true for me, this is what I'm going for. I'm going to separate this time to create. So I use this in my creative writing. That's my other great passion, and I know very much from there that the value of a discipline of separating time out to write. So in that sense, I'm creating a separation, and in fact, sometimes I have to say no to things of the will. Like, I'm not going out today because I'm writing. So you can say there's a separation, there's an ego, but yet it is kind of like a positive, enlightened ego, because I'm answering yes to a deeper level of creation that wants to come through. It's a joy. So your joy in the world wants to be supported with boundaries, and sometimes they can be fierce, feisty boundaries, and yet they are not dependent on circumstances and outcomes. They are never going to take away from other people so that you can have. It's always for your highest good, and will be for their highest good. So even if like, say I want to write today and my partner wants to go and do something fun or something else, it will be useless if I ignore my desire and go and do something with her, for instance. And she knows that, so we equal with that. We always tune into what is your highest thing. So if my highest goal today is to write, and she wanted to do something with me, she would quickly say, well, what is then the other option? What is also for my highest good to do today? What comes forth as for my highest option? And then we'll do vice versa for each other. And sometimes there is a compromise, but that compromise can be joyful too, because it can be like a joy of service. Well, I don't really feel like going to that place today, but I can see it's high on your list of joy, and therefore I will experience joy doing that too. So we're really throwing things around here. Does it make sense? So, okay, how do I practically use this then? How do I practically blend the power of now with the law of attraction? What I would do is, if I notice in my world that something needs to be created, say I have a lack, apparent lack, and it will come to me usually as a negative feeling. I'll feel badly about something. So I don't have enough of something. So what I will do is, I will check in, can I immediately jump to the positive? Is this just something that's just stupid that I'm just fussing over and it's not important, and I can just breathe and feel into the positive? If so, I will go there and I will say, fuck these circumstances, because you've got to get feisty with it. Like, this is bullshit. I'm going to feel positive now. And then I find I can easily feel positive, and then from there I will create from positive. And I'll go into positive, I'll imagine the outcome, and from even beyond the outcome, I will feel the outcome is here right now. It is already here, and I'm not dependent on the circumstances. It is here for me. I'm already feeling wealthy. I'm feeling my book is complete, for instance. I'm feeling the completeness of this book that I'm writing. So that is the one with the pure law of attraction, more like. And then I proceed into the world, and I do what needs to be done. I have to go sit down actually right now, but I'm doing it from a better feeling space, or I'm going to create something in my business or whatever. Now, let's wind back. Say we go back to the initial difficult feeling. There's an apparent lack, and I find that I can't shift my feelings. Something keeps pulling me back into the negative, so-called negative. Then I will know that there's something here for me to look at. So then I will practice more of the loving what is approach. I'll say, right, circumstances, they feel quite scary right now, and I'm feeling churned up about this, and I don't know what to do to change. So then I will say to myself, can I allow this to be here just for now? Can I allow this feeling and these circumstances just for now? And what it means is, can I just simply say yes? Can I say yes to this experience now of pain, of separation, of anxiety, fear? And if I cannot say yes to that, can I say yes to that refusal? Can I find the yes? That for me, that is also where God is hiding, is the yes. So just find the yes. Yes, I'm okay to feel this discomfort for now. It's okay, I can feel discomfort. And I'm going to breathe into it. Not to get rid of it, just to make space for it, to expand and to feel it. What is this pain? What is this fear? And I'll feel into the texture of it, the color of it. And I'll really immerse myself in it. But you see, I'm not identified with it anymore, because if you think, oh no, it's terrible, I'm poor, or I'll never amount to anything, I'll step back and say, I notice that within me now is a sensation of being poor or judgment. I won't amount to anything, or this always happens, or I notice within me now judgment. So you've really stepped into the observer, right? But the pain is still there because it's habitual, it's cycling. So you give yourself permission to experience that, and to really, really experience, like every inch of this, oh fuck, this is terrible, but you're just witnessing and allowing it, and being brave. This is a spiritual warrior. You're being brave, allowing it, and following it. And if you do that for a while, maybe even days, you've got to do it. And if you do that, and you pay attention also to what is it in the energy around you, what can happen is that here's pain, and you notice that there's peace here as well. This is the peace of God that passes all human understanding. It is not related to your circumstances. So here might be pain, and here might be peace, or joy even, or excitement. You'll notice that when you feel, excitement might be here as well. But law of attraction teaching, the limit is you've got to try and get everything feeling good. Whereas this path is saying your joy is coming from a place that is causeless and independent of all circumstances and feelings. So your body might be in a state of fear, and yet you're in tune with the dimensions of joy and love and peace, which is also your nature. That's why I think call us descended masters, because we already have the mastery dimensions within us, simply unrecognized. What we are doing now is we are letting go of the mesmerization of circumstances by feeling it, and then that dimension, the mastery dimension, comes forth, and then slowly you can feel more of that, and what comes forth might surprise you. For instance, what comes forth might be power or curiosity. These are qualities of essence of being, and you feel more into those. So now those are the qualities. Now you're back into the positive, you see, and the pain might carry on for a while here, but you're not concerned with it, because you're tuning into now the higher frequencies of this come from your sixth, fifth, fourth densities, bodies, and is not concerned with the circumstances of maybe you're still in fear. Who cares? It is just an energy frequency. It does not diminish the sky. The storm on the here does not diminish the sun, the shining in the sky. You're tapping into that wisdom, right? So when you've done that and you've processed, there's a freedom. Now from the freedom you can create. Now you're back into the creator's path. Now you're back honoring the law of attraction and shifting frequency. You've just taken a detour, a profound alchemical detour. I will talk more about this. This does take a bit of getting used to. So I think, to summarize, the main thing is use law of attraction, but be careful of the trap of trying to medicate a lack. You can do that, and law of attraction will work for you completely, but you'll have more money, but you'll still feel poor, for instance. You'll create the circumstances of feeling poor. What you want to do is blend a bit of the path of oneness and unity, of I am, and I already contain everything. If you can do that and find the frequency space of I already am everything, in fact I do need nothing, and yet I would love to create, creation wants to come through me, then you are divinely creating, and you're sort of honoring the higher level of the law of attraction. And then do not feel you have to suppress your negativity. If you feel you're negative and cannot shift positive, just jump into the loving what is group for a while, and feel the pain from the place of I am, from the place of I, from the divine witness. That engages the heart, engages the spirit, and that will process that material. And you're not going to create negativity from that, because you're not invested in it. You're simply witnessing and experiencing it. The you identifying with I am free, bliss and abundance, even though right now my body is racked in fear. Can you get that difference? The fear does not need to be feared, because you are not that. And when you practice this, you come back into positive vibration. And only when you're nicely rooted in a positive frequency, then you create. And then you can create from, I already have everything. What would I love to see more of? And then you're divine creator. Then you walk in the world. Then you do your thing. You do your work. Like now, just now, that's my writing time. It's sacred time. Nothing can come into that time. I'll probably talk more about this another time. But for now, I think that's complete. If you have comments, questions, you can leave them in the comment box below. I'll see you again.